A very good evening, good afternoon. Um, I think, with such wonderful sessions happening since morning, I can tell you that, um, uh, the session that really stood out for me, and of course the other sessions were brilliant, was the session from ISRO. I think, still have those goosebumps. Uh, and I think, we want to uh, create a mini goosebump session here as well with such a power-packed panelist, right? And the topic that essentially we are talking about is to basically see how do we take uh, you know cyber India from a 2030 vision standpoint, right? And I'll just probably give 30 seconds or 1 minute of the context setting, and then of course the dais is all yours, panelist, and I don't want to come in between your views and the audience. But of course, we've seen how India or Bharat essentially has made a vision, our honorable Prime Minister's vision in terms of Viksit Bharat 2047, where idea is to kind of take uh, the country to the next level, whether it is from an economy standpoint, whether it is making sure that doubling the income of citizens under the poverty line, or creating a stronger digital inclusion, or for that matter, building resilience at nation level. Also looking at certain sectors, whether those new sectors from an incubation standpoint or the current sectors, how do we kind of make ourselves Atmanirbhar, right? For example, we've seen the semiconductor mission of India and so on and so forth. With all of those perspectives, I think, having a resilient cyber India, right, is something that one really, really needs to focus on. And with the attack surface constantly changing, right? Uh, how do we kind of bring that vigil? We've seen adoption of state-of-the-art technologies. We've seen how cloud essentially has moved and taken a paradigm shift. With quantum coming in, this is only the beginning. And at the same time, state-of-the-art technology being deployed. But is a Viksit Cyber India really only about state-of-the-art technology? I don't think so. It is more about citizens' awareness. It is more about resilience. It is more about how do you kind of bring in a fair amount of skilling and build the cyber soldiers of the future. And last but not the least, how do you kind of support the critical infrastructure of the nation, right? So with that background, uh, Lieutenant Commander Gaurav Yadav, right? Dheeraj Yadav, sorry. Uh, Dheeraj, my question to you is, of course, with 10 years of service in the defense, you've seen, very critical infrastructure. You've seen high state of technology. You've seen a high degree of vigil. You've also seen so many targeted cyber attacks. What has really changed, right? And of course, when we are living in the age of AI today, from defense to the corporate sector, what has really changed for you? And at the same time, what do you feel the CISOs of today really need to keep a very close eye on, given the such a dynamic attack surface?
Well, thank you very much. So, sir, what I think from my experience is, give it in one line, the answer in one line, then I'll explain. So you have to be in the current scenario of the threat landscape and the threat actors.
Background for any airport management. So obviously, we've seen that there is a high adoption of a digital ecosystem in an airport operations. Whether you talk about fleet management, you talk about passenger movement, you talk about access controls and security operations, right? So adoption of AI, for example, is this really becoming a deterrent, or is actually adding to the efficiency of the operations? Your views?
Yeah, definitely. Here I am covering two questions related to adopting the AI in critical infrastructure, airport ecosystem. Yes, I would say yes for that. Another thing, it is a pure dependency, pure complexity also when we are going to adopting this technology. I am covering first point when I would say resilience framework I'm going to implement. Already some of the across the global in Heathrow airport in India also GMR also introduced some epoch technology, digital twins and physical twins. They already introduced some of the passenger flow and airport operations and airside operations also and landside operations also. They introduced near about 40 modules and near about 150 KPIs also introduced to smooth workflow, passenger flow for AI, using AI. I am giving one example. When anyone observing, when you are entering to the T3 Delhi airport, there is a sample dashboards or you are observing. There is a gate number 12, 2 second, gate number 12, 13, maybe 8 minutes. It's again AI technology they are using, how much traffic, passenger flow in each and every gate. They are analyzing real-time data. It will help us airport ecosystems to how to manage airport operation systems day to day and weekly also, monthly also. Suppose in every airport ecosystems for monthly, it is very critical to maintain the air traffic also. On that situation, because of once AI enter into the systems, it is very easy to operate to air traffic and passenger flow also. And again, it comes to baggage handling systems. Some of the Sita, Air India, Indigo, some of the airlines also they are doing integrating AI into BHS systems because of baggage handling tagging system. How much time we reduced if passengers once arrive whatever departure. So we need to ensure that also baggage losses also. And third point, when it comes to SOC operations, because of lot of globally across the airport, they already transitioning into AI, SIEM solutions and all that. They are adopting those technology also. Only SOC operation, only detection time is reducing, but again it goes to response time. It will only manual intervention is required, right? These are the three I'm giving the examples. And third part, when adapting the solutions, maybe yes, because of very critical to when I'm introducing into ICS systems into same solution, because of we have a couple of AODB data, airlines data, and other OEMs also data. This is a realistic data we are fetching from centralized, and it will help us to uh, air traffic flow and all. That time when I am going to add a one more layer, I want to add one AI layer. It will very difficult to manage those things. I'm giving another one example. Suppose uh, uh, biometrics are not working. On that situation, what we do? At, again, it comes to only manual operations. You can go and enter manually. It very heuristic state to manage this kind of situation. Both I'm covering 50%. Towards today, we are not yet ready to adopting this technology, but maybe to vision 2030, we may adopt. Now 40% are there. Now maybe towards 60-70% we'll adopt.
Fantastic. Thank you. And what I hear is that, yes, adoption of AI has brought in efficiencies. From a security operations standpoint, you have been looking at both detection in a proactive and a detective manner, post facto, pre facto. And of course, moving forward by 2030, this is going to increase from an automation and efficiency standpoint. Thank you for that. Taking a cue from Dheeraj and asking my friend Vadivelan Sankar, I can call you Velu on stage with your permission, is basically, so Velu, what we've seen is, that all the typical cyber activities like threat hunting, code reviews, red teaming, now of course, attack surface management and breach attack simulations or various other simulations that happen. Uh, you know, there is a high degree of AI. So as they say, AI in cyber and cyber in AI, right? So when you talk about AI in cyber, is it that organizations have started actively looking at training their cyber professionals to really look deep into AI? Number one. And number two, if yes, then what are the few steps that one really needs to look at as a mandatory activity? And then, of course, what are good to have? And then moving forward in the future, what those good to haves will also become mandatory. Sorry for the long question.
No problem. Okay, thank you so much, Akshay, for this question. So the first question, if you ask me honestly, no. Okay, so we are not actually training our people. We are actually over trusting AI everywhere. That is what is happening now. If you ask me about any cybersecurity professionals, they are just learning AI as just a tool. They're not using as an assistant. They're not actually, they're just thinking about AI is some actually like is going to give some data. They're not verifying what kind of data is also giving. Okay, it's kind of over trust we have on AI. If you ask me, okay, so a lot of issues happened recently. Like AI also started thinking more than a human now. It can actually behave like a human. It also started showing emotions. Earlier we thought, okay, it doesn't have emotion, but there are some 6 to 8 instances across the globe actually happened where you can see AI started blackmailing the developers. AI refused to shut down its system and it's changed the script also. Okay, another AI recently, it started comparing the developer's knowledge and its knowledge, saying that I am better than this guy. Okay, now, so adding to all this thing, okay, so if you ask me, earlier we are worried only about Google and Microsoft, they know about the data, right? Now actually you have to worry about a lot of things. Microsoft knows your data, Google knows your data, your mobile phone knows about you, your wife also knows about you. Now along with that, you have AI also knows about you. So in the actually like we are very passionate about AI. In the due course, we are actually giving our data everything for free, and AI knows better than you. And please remember, AI can share this data with your wife also. Okay. So if they can go to any site, they can type your name, it will give all your data, including your girlfriend's and boyfriend's name also. So please be careful. Please reduce your footprints. That is one thing. Second, AI actually is giving a kind of illusion. Okay. Like for example, the professionals we are talking about, right? Even a junior professional also, he looks like a very great professional, great hacker kind of looks. Actually, it is not. Okay. If you see the graph, earlier we had actually that knowledge level, the knowledge graph we had is 80%. Now it's going down to 20% now. Okay. It's not only this. Okay. So anywhere if you say like we have a term also, HITL, human in the loop. Okay. Now if you see this in the coming next maybe 5 years or 10 years, if you see like human also will not be in the loop. Okay. So a lot of certifications are available. They say, okay, supervisor, AI supervisor program. So trainers actually they're getting a lot of money out of this. But unfortunately, when you say like AI supervisors, they don't know anything about it. They don't question what actually AI is giving also. I can tell you like there are global companies which was completely trusting on ChatGPT, which is giving some information and they're reporting it, they're getting penalized also. This also like there are real-time stories. If you ask me, training is not the only solution. The only thing is you have to change the thought process. What actually we are doing with AI is we are automating the workflow. It is just supposed to be like doing the automation of workflows. But what you are doing is we are trying to automate all the thought process. And simply like we say, AI is good, it is giving all the correct data and we'll trust it blindly. Finally, we are getting actually tossed up everywhere.
Fantastic. Right. I think you've used some very good analogies, which I would refrain from using. Because I don't know what devices are there on my shirt and my suit, which has started from home today. So I want to just stay away from all that. Okay, so my next question is to Shiva. We've actually seen boards of a lot of organizations, ask this question about adoption of AI to business, right? How are we using it by the support functions? So how are we using it to build efficiency into my finance, IT, people? How am I basically doing go-to-market? Assuming if I am like a manufacturing company, then I have an upstream and downstream both. Downstream maybe say inventory management, upstream maybe distribution chain. And adoption of AI, how is it actually helping me build efficiencies, lower the cost and optimize the process and so on and so forth, right? All of those questions are being asked, we know. But our board's really asking about AI risk, right? Risk arising out of these issues because you look at any sort of poisoning, any sort of crossing of ethical boundaries. Organizations like us cannot afford any questions on anything with respect to, say, plagiarism and things like that, right? Data privacy, I'll come to you on the data privacy part, but so these are some of the risks which arise. I'm sure, what do you recommend boards should really today ask on all these areas?
First of all, thank you for having me here, and it's a great question. Just to set the one line for our theme for today. So imagine we have two organizations by 2030, and they both uses AI, and both are having investments in cyber, and also both are having the dashboards. But one of the organization breached. The reason the breach is, it's not lack of tools, it's lack of speed. And the other organization survived. It's not just because of their prevention technologies or the threat modeling, whatever, just because they are faster than the attacker. So I think that's the speed we are talking about by 2030. You should be faster than the attacker, and the speed basically with right judgment is going to know the formula for the cyber supremacy by 2030. So coming back to your question, how boards are dealing with the risk aspect with the AI. So we all know AI, and the rest of the panels also spoke about the digital adoption is very high, and now everywhere, every product is using AI, right? So the endpoints are very high, and the AI innovation also growing at a rocket speed. And if you say, for example, it is growing at 200 kilometers per hour, but our risk dashboards is still walking kind of thing, right? So still boards are projected and showing that these many patches systems we did, and these are the phishing links we have found, and so many firewall alerts, right? So basically it is still we are lag and looking at the traditional way of dashboards, but that's equally important. I'm not saying that's not important. Along with that, AI risk is something different, because AI compresses with time, and probably we should look at it how data is getting poisoning, and how models are getting manipulated, and how these decisions with AI is getting again manipulated. So these are the serious concerns, because earlier, if you look at the attacks, basically takes weeks, that is reduced to now minutes. And many people leveraging social media to do a defect, but now they are able to reproduce that synthetic information itself, right? So it's not the attackers are smart, because attackers are very faster these days. So but we are still looking at yesterday's compliance and threat modeling references and controls and so on and so forth. So my point is, in AI era, we need to focus on modeling, data modeling, data trustworthiness, and as well as give the automation decision. Basically, you automate the decision exposure, so that because many times what happens by the take human standard way of approval, by then damage is getting more in the AI world. So morning panel also they highlighted that it's a controlled way of decision making you should provide, so that you're not hampering the fastness, because AI you're introducing to optimize some of your workloads, right? So if you hold that man in the middle or man in the loop is equally important, but make in a controlled decision for at a high level, and keep these aspects intact, so that you leverage the speed of AI. At the same time, you also engage the leadership authority to
Sure.
take the informed decisions.
Sure.
And I think that's the way forward.
Thank you, Shiva. I think very well spoken, and a lot of good takeaways from your point of view. And I think guardrails. How do you actually guardrail in a complete program? And as a program, what I mean is not the code, but program in terms of the journey and adoption journey.
Yes.
So I think fantastic. Thank you so much for your views.
Thank you.
I'll come to Shri. So Shri, my question to you are somebody who's sitting on a very hot seat now, at least for the next 12 to 18 months, hopefully 18 and not 12,
Yes.
right? We know the Digital Personal Data Protection Act, the rules essentially have come out, and a lot of businesses are on the journey of adoption. So my question to you is, will AI only add to your problems? Because there is so much of information where or would you really apply the tenets of consent management, data minimization, and of course looking at the principal rights at the time when any prompts are engineered for an organization? So yeah, over to you.
Thank you for having me here. All right, so it's a very apt question, to the current scenario. So data privacy is a buzzword everywhere, right? So at least to the companies, like multinational companies, it's not new. They worked on GDPR and PDPL. But for Indian organizations, definitely privacy is a new term, because I clearly see that difference between how the MNC companies handle or they look at the personal data from Indian companies, because I worked in multinational companies like very regulated entity, and now comes to infrastructure management, more of Indian firm, how they see data privacy as a new requirement, right? So the first thing that clearly missing in the organization, especially when it comes to the awareness, right? So people at the leadership level doesn't know even what is personal data, and even if they know personal data, they think I keep getting questions from my leadership team. We have employees data, we are more of B2B, right? So we have a lot of employees data, we don't have customers data. Are we really have to look into it? Is it really required for us in first place, right? So my answer is yes, employees also considered as their individuals. Act does not define it defines what is personal data. It's data belongs to an individual. So employee also comes under the scope of data privacy. So we have to implement controls, operationalize data privacy, which is very important, right? So that awareness part is very important, and we need to, and that shift in the mindset, that cultural awareness that needs to be embedded within the organization at the leadership level. Then you can, bring it down to the, governance and talking to the business, creating that awareness across the organization. But the leadership is a key, right? So we need to bring that awareness at the leadership level, which is a very challenging part from the DPDPA standpoint, which I'm seeing currently. And the second thing is operationalizing the privacy, because operational privacy is not that easy, right? When it comes to concern comes with a lot of conditions. Consent has to be specific, it has to be clear, it should not be ambiguous, it should be revocable, right? So the operationalizing part becomes a little critical in terms of implementing data privacy. But suddenly, all of the sudden, that AI come in, and again it creates more complications, because AI just takes your data, it processes your data without proper consent, right? So that may affect the act requirement. It may breaches the requirement of the act, because consent should be taken from the individual before using their data. You must be still following the traditional approach of privacy, consent, and data subject rights. But the organization must really embrace and start looking at these processes. Maybe they have to start looking at their privacy notices when AI start using their data. And AI, the model is created, and they use for model creation, fine tuning of AI model. They use a lot of data, right? So privacy notices should be revisited, where the individual should be adequately informed that the data will be used for AI purposes. Right? The consent has to be clearly there.
So basically, you're saying privacy by design, and at any point in time, any new models which are being developed and adopted essentially should have like the way we have security, it should have privacy as well by design. Okay. We've got exactly 7 minutes on the timer, and as we speak now, 3 seconds are also done. So what I'm going to do is, with due regards to all the panelists, we'll have 2 questions, and we'll just request each panelist to speak about them and share their views for about a minute or 2. Right? Thank you so much for that. So Dheeraj, next question is to you. So we've seen, and please, other panelists also feel free to answer. We've seen that adversaries essentially where you have attack vectors now no longer humans on the other side. They're actually routines or bots. Now, obviously, the speed at which the attacks may happen may be less of dormancy and more of offensive, and that offensive also would be more agile than what it used to be. So from a 50-day to a 2-day, for example. How does organizations actually build frameworks to kind of address these agility? I know 2 minutes will not be enough for this, but thank you.
Actually, it needs more than 2 minutes. So one of my favorite topics from ages. So about adversary, I'll start it with this thing. You have to understand their mindset. Okay, I'll look at the clock and I'll speak in that case. You have to understand their mindset. What exactly are they trying to achieve? This is a revenue generating model for them. So are they trying to generate revenue out of this, or are the intention something different? Like in the current scenario, I'll give an example. Gentlemen, still recording. That is okay. Last today morning only, when we ran our tool, so it's completely in-house developed by our team, our dark web monitoring tool, and we found out a lot of information related to the current scenario which is happening in the Middle East. Mossad's agents details worldwide are leaked open to everyone who can access there. So now you have to understand what exactly are they trying to, what will they target, what will they achieve. The adversaries are not only, I'll give an example, the adversaries are not only the threat actors who want to generate something out. Your competitor can also be an adversary for you. So look at it. So I'm speaking something which should not be spoken, but coming from defense background, we like to be crisp and clear about things. You have to understand all the domains. You have to understand who can be my my adversary, who can be my foe, what all things can go wrong about it. Make SOPs around these, exercise those SOPs, run the playbooks continuously around your environment. I think Subedar sir talked about SOC. Are your SOC teams very well trained? If something going wrong, nobody can stop things going from going wrong. But are you prepared for next steps when things go wrong? At what stage can you stop them from? So that is where the continuous training and playbooks and all these things comes into picture. So I tried to complete it as soon as possible.
Fantastic.
And one more side to it. So in the scenarios where it was tested, the AI fired the atomic bomb in every scenario, every country has tested. So please ensure that you don't train AI on your personal data. Otherwise, your personal data is the atomic bomb for them, and they will fire it at every time. Thank you. Velu, you have?
I have few points actually.
Yeah, please.
See, earlier the fight was only between the human to human, like hacker fighting another hacker. Now actually slowly we are shifting everything from human to AI. That is what the current situation is. Now future you will see like AI to AI only. That is the final stage. Okay, otherwise like you will not be able to bring any kill switch also. For any actual adversarial activities, you will not have a kill switch, human monitored or controlled kill switch. It is not possible at all. Right? Now at the speed of the AI working, now actually like we have next level threats, not only AI. Now AI with cybersecurity, and we have quantum, and with all this thing, okay, the landscape, technology landscape, the attack surface, everything getting changed. Now, let me tell you, okay, so even today, we don't understand cybersecurity to its fullest. Do you agree? Okay, and now actually we are shifting everything to AI now. Okay, so we are somewhere caught in between the crossroads of AI and cybersecurity. There is an uncertainty of AI and cybersecurity, but still we are adopting everything, assuming that we are good with AI. AI models are trained better, but actually it is not. So you might have heard about a lot of terms like LLM poisoning, then prompt injection attacks. You can actually, like, we have guardrails, fencing. Okay, we can talk about a lot of terminals. We have regulatory framework also, but still, there are a lot of ways, okay, you can bypass those things easily. That means even AI is not secure. So that's the story now. Okay, so
Yeah.
let's hope, okay, we are co-living, going to co-live actually with AI anymore in the future. Let's see.
Yeah, I think you've laid down the problem statement very well. And I think, we continuously continue to evolve to kind of get answers to all the problem statements. So thank you so much for that. I have a question for Mr. Reddy. Again, 30 seconds. Sorry, we don't have the luxury of time, but very tempted to ask you this question is more on the embedded side, right? Because today, as Velu spoke about the changing attack surface, he forgot to add about robotics and embedded hardware, right? Not forgot, but I'm sure he must be aware of it. He was like, how many more problems should I put on the table, right? So, given that you come from similar operations, can you just tell us about the balance between cyber and AI in an operational technology environment?
Adopting technology in ICS OT control systems? No. Why? Because I'm giving one realistic example in front of, I think, audience. When today, last 3-4 years, everyone talking about OT security, ICS security, but each and everywhere, even critical infra, manufacturing, whatever healthcare units, whatever critical infra, whatever you take. On that situation, from IT security too much maturity, 80-90 maturity controls are there. When I am going to implement those kind of controls in such a ICS systems, it's a different world. When I'm reaching, I want to do risk assessment in our organization system, in organization. They are directly say declining, no, why you are doing? What is the need for to do the risk assessments? Because of from 20 years, it's without disruption is going on, but they are not ready to take this adaptive upcoming technologies, ready to move. E&M people, multiple calls, multiple with E&M peoples, multiple OEMs also, they are not ready to. Suppose I want to do one single port span, it will goes to from another country, they're again reviewing why you are going to do, what kind of traffic you are going to monitor. They're ready to adapt to these technologies also. That's why it is a very true challenge for every organization. On that situation, I'm not going to in this situation, we are not going to adapt to AI into critical infra. Only predictive analysis, dashboards, and operational perspective is it okay, but maybe more time required to adapt to this into ICS control systems.
I know we are time up, but Shri, one question for you, and Shiva, you can please add to it. Is on consent management, adoption of AI in consent management. Do you think it's going to be helpful in the times to come? Because consent management is still evolving. Businesses are still. I know you can speak about it for the entire day, but we have only 30
sure,
seconds.
sure. Yeah, so consent again, it's as I said, right? We initially took consent from the individuals for some purpose. Now we have AI, so regulators and individuals expect the consent. Your privacy notices should be adequately informing the individuals that we are going to use your data, personal data, for AI deployment, which is very important. That's the crux of the privacy notice becomes a transparency. It meets the transparency principle where we have to inform the individuals that the data is going to be used for training AI, or we are sharing with the vendors. And AI also, we have cross-border governance, right? So cross-border comes into the picture. The data is stored across the borders, especially like payment data. Like India has restrictions, you cannot store outside India, right? So these are some of the challenges definitely which AI will bring in. And from the consent perspective, yes, it has to be validated. You might have collected for various reasons before historically, but definitely these things have to be redefined. The concerned practices have to be fine-tuned. The privacy teams have to look into it, and there has to be a strong governance team. Cross-functional governance team should be put in place when you develop a AI. Embedding privacy by design into the AI development lifecycle, which is very important, right? So it has to be a collaborative work, like your AI developers, your privacy teams, legal teams, security teams comes together and create a transparent and ethical AI.
Thank you so much.
Just to add to that, I think consent is bringing the transparency between the consumer and the data fiduciary, right? So Previously, when they're collecting information, either the user is not aware what purpose they are leveraging it, and the other side, organizations, since they have that information, they can use it for multiple purposes, right? Now, the DPD enforcement of consent management, it is ensuring that what purpose you have collected, it is only use of restricting to that. So that's where I see consent management is handy.
Thank you, Shiva. I think a wonderful round. I think whatever time we got, a lot of very strong points came out on the table. We spoke about right from Viksit Bharat to adversaries to looking at some great examples given by Dheeraj. Mr. Reddy also shared some examples on operations. Shiva shared some examples on how the board should operate. Of course, Shri spoke about data privacy. And last but not the least, my friend Velu, right, gave us a lot of scare on the table. So a lot of points to ponder. And I think, but all in all, I would say adoption of AI is here to kind of improve our livelihood, improve our happiness quotient, give more work-life balance, hopefully, and at the same time, make this nation on top of the global map, and at the same time make Bharat vibrant and great as always. Thank you so much. Are there any questions we can take? Do we have time for 2 questions? I'll use, maybe Velu can use your good offices with ma'am and say 1 question at least.
Yeah, probably due to laxity of time, we can take 1 question.
I have a question for Mr. Reddy. Sir, of late we have been hearing the challenge of geospoofing. How are you mitigating it, or is there any way to mitigate it?
No, sir. Presently, situation GPS spoofing attack happened. There again enter into the manual flows. What in 1970s, 1980s, there jump into again there because of that situation. Even GPS also inaccurate on that situation. It shows near about 10 kilometers. That's what most of the aircrafts landed into Jaipur airports also. In this situation, we need to more secure whatever radio frequencies and all that. We need to secure that kind of all situations also. We need to present situation. We are not focusing. Maybe government is also not focusing on that kind of situation. Maybe certain and some of the BICA, CISO, their regulatory bodies already they're focusing on why it is happening. We need to do something on that. Maybe in 6 months, 1 year, they're going to implement this kind of situation to handle.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Sir, the answer to your question is Indian navigational system which ISRO is developing is the answer to that, without going much into detail.
Thank you so much. A big round of applause to panel 2 discussions and to our moderator, Mr. Akshay Garkel. If this discussion has left you with more questions than answers, then that's not a failure, because that's intellectual honesty. The answers will come only if you keep asking the right questions. Right. Thank you so much to all the distinguished guests. Moving on, my dear friends, we are going to only have 5-minute spotlights. So we have spotlight number 2, just for 5 minutes, from Akhilesh MS, Director, Privacy Pillar, and the topic he's going to